What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, the place to learn how to improve your content so you can build influence, income and a community on social media. Now today I want to talk about the biggest challenges I've faced from growing my community to 100,000 followers on Instagram. Now the funny thing is that the challenges I faced are not unique to me and they're challenges that everyone faces. And it doesn't matter if you've got 100,000 followers, 10,000 followers, 1,000, 100 or even 0 followers. The challenges I've faced are what everyone faces. The whole point of this video today is to shed light on how I personally have overcome those challenges and how you can overcome them yourself. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Being consistent is one of the hardest challenges I've personally faced. I know a lot of people have this challenge as well, but one of the things that really helped me to overcome it was just creating a system. And it's a system around creating content. And this is what I do. So on the first day, and this can be any day of the week, but on the first day, I do all my research. So anything I've listened to, any podcasts, any YouTube videos, anything I've read, I go back to them, I pull out the ideas and I put them down, I write them down somewhere. On the second day, I start to personalize these ideas and I start putting them together into the actual ideas for each individual post. So by that I mean, I type out in my notes on my phone or on my laptop, I type out word for word what I want on every individual slide for all of my posts. Then once I've done that, on the next day, so on the third day, I'll then actually design the post. I'll open up Illustrator, I'll have Illustrator on one side of the screen, my notes on the other side of the screen, and then simply all I do is I copy and paste the writing from the notes into a template that I've created on Illustrator, and then I can adjust it where I need to, add a little bit more personalization, add some images, add some diagrams or some illustrations, and that's it. I started off in this journey creating content which took me, over an hour. Now it takes me 30 minutes to do a carousel, and this is some of my best content yet. But I'm only able to do that because of this system that I've created. The next challenge I faced was being unique. Now, to be successful on social media, you have to be unique. It's a given. You can't just be a clear copycat of someone else. The issue though is that when you do copy people, you can end up getting results and that really blinds your judgment. But ultimately over the long term, the more you copy people, all you're doing is serving their purpose. Because the more your content looks like someone else's who's of a higher influence than you, all it does is remind people of that person. It doesn't remind them of you, and that's a big problem. So how did I become unique? Well, quite simply, I looked at my competition, I looked at what they do well, I looked at what they didn't do well, and I found the gaps within that. But what was most important was finding what I enjoyed and putting that into my content. So for me, I quite like dark colours, I quite like a grungy look, I like textures on my content. So I added all of that into my content, I added my personality. And luckily for me, that was the gap in the market at the time. There was no one else having that look of their content. So for me to become unique, I just had to change my visual. That was one of the biggest changes I had to make. But it's not just the visual, it's also what you talk about. And it's also how you talk about it. And the best way to make sure you're unique is just simply be yourself. Don't just try and copy the way other people do things. Yes, get inspiration. Yes, learn what works best. But don't just copy. Learn, apply it and personalize it. And then when you can do that, everything then works out and you get the most benefit from that. And the next big challenge that I personally faced was burnout. And I experienced it, and I can't remember the exact moment, but I think it was around when I hit about 50 or 60,000 followers. And luckily for me, I was actually going away on holiday at that time. So it gave me a really good opportunity to actually stop posting. I was posting every day up until that point, but I decided, and you have to do this as well, if you're burning out, if you feel yourself burning out, you have to take a step back because something within the process is wrong. And for me, I realized that it wasn't the amount that I was doing, but it was what I was doing, which was the issue. So burnout is not always to do with how much you're doing or how much effort you're putting in. It can just be that you're focusing yourself on things that you don't truly believe in or you're not truly that happy doing, and that's where you need to make a change. So for me, there were certain types of content that I didn't really want to be creating, that I didn't feel, as passionately about. And yes, on the one-off day, that doesn't have an impact, but over time it does, and it wears you down. Don't forget, if you're enjoying this video, to hit subscribe and also hit that notification bell. But most importantly, I want to know, have you experienced any of these challenges before? If you have, what challenges have you had? How have you overcome them? If not any of these, then what challenges have you faced? Drop a comment and let me know, but let's get back into the video. Next big challenge I faced was hashtags. When I was using hashtags, I didn't spend much time researching them, and ultimately, because I didn't spend time on them, they didn't work. What I then decided to do was just literally forget about hashtags, and I stopped using them completely. And every now and then I would try them out again, but ultimately, the more I tried, the less that they didn't work. But what I found was actually when I didn't use hashtags, it reframed my mind, and it made me realize that hashtags are just, one way of directing your content to a certain type of person. But for hashtags to work, your content has to be good. But hashtags aren't the be all and end all, because you've got the explore page, which is actually where you want to be, instead of showing up on hashtags, because the Explorer is much more efficient and it shows you to the exact type of people you want to see. So I actually stopped using hashtags completely. I gave up on them completely. And for me, that actually helped me much more. It made me realize that I had to focus on my content. I had to improve my content if I wanted it to reach more people and to then get the engagement that I wanted it to. So if you're struggling with hashtags, you've got two choices. You have to either really double down on them and really study them and become really good at them, or forget about them completely, because I've grown from 0 to 100,000 followers for the majority of the time, not even using hashtags. The last big challenge I faced was demand. Now, all of a sudden I was getting hundreds of comments, 100 DMs a day, and as much as I wanted to reply to every single one of them, it was becoming virtually impossible to do that. And this was tough, and I had to find out a way to balance everything out. So I decided to post less content. So instead of posting every day, I'd post every other day. So that gave me an extra day, an extra 24 hours to get back to comments and to get back to DMs. But even just doing that, it's still not enough time with everything else I have going on to get back to everyone. So I had to adjust my priorities. Instead of just replying to comments or DMs, I would then change it up. If I was getting more DMs at one point, I'd focus my time on there. Or if I was getting more comments at one point, I'd focus my time there. And I'd be more flexible, because at the end of the day, when people comment, yes, they're going to want an answer, but if they really want an answer to a question, they're going to send you a message. So your priorities when you are growing and when you have a big community should always be on your DMs, because that's where you really build good relationships with people. Your comments are a great way to stay in touch with people, but if one day you don't get back to a comment, don't let that eat you up, because you provide value to people in so many other ways that getting back to their comment and just saying thank you, it doesn't really change much. So don't focus on that too much. Adjust your priorities and focus on what really matters, which is essentially just giving as much value as you can. So guys, that brings us to the end. There were the 5 biggest challenges I've faced from 0 to 100,000 followers. But just listen, if you are having any challenges, drop a comment below, tell me the biggest challenge you faced, and I'll give you a bit of advice on how you can overcome it. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.